Welcome to the first edition of the Southern Ladies Ramblings podcast. I'm Katie Cannon, and you'll find me pretty much everywhere as the Southern Ladies Ramblings. That's what I am on Instagram, and on Ravelry, I'm a Southern Ladies R. Couldn't get the Ramblings in, it was a little too long. I'm a knitter, I spin, and I dye wool. And I also design patterns. So I've been pretty busy lately, but I thought I would start this because I am publishing more patterns on Ravelry, just to give a background on what is coming up and what I've done and what is available. This summer I started the Summer of Socks collection of sock patterns, and they are Shorty socks. The first one was released in May. It was designed for my mother. Her nickname is Shorty, so it's called My Favorite Shorty. I do not have those socks. I actually gifted those for Mother's Day, so she has them. But I do have the second sock for that pattern collection, which is called My Favorite Striped Shorty. All of my patterns use a garter stitch heel. You can put in whatever type heel that you like. Short row heel. I do German short rows, which is the double stitch method. I don't like to have to wrap and turn anything, so that's what I do. But yeah, I do. They're worked toe up all the way to the heel, so that way you can get a more custom fit than the heel. A small leg and cuff. They actually wear pretty low. They're perfect ankle socks. So this is the second pattern, and it is called My Favorite Striped Shorty. The third pattern in the collection is a beginner's lace pattern. I wanted to give everybody a little bit of something fun to do, and this one's called the Okk County Sock. I'll put links down below to everything that I'm referring to. But this one is the Okk County Socks. It's blowing out a little bit. This yarn is by Bad Sheep Yarn Company. The My Favorite Shorty pattern and the My Favorite Striped Shorty pattern use Bad Sheep yarn. This is Bad Sheep. The sparkle is a knit crate yarn that I had that matched perfectly, and this was called Mermaid. I'll put the link in. I chose this really fun light patterned color to just show off the lace. So the lace is the fun part of it, and it's a toe up, short row heel, short leg, and cuff. The fourth sock pattern was just released last week, and it is called the Atlanta Sock, because the yarn, I was actually purchased it at Stitches United. It uses yarn from Kim Dye's Yarn. It is her fingering weight mini skein, and that is what I used for this. So if you've got a really fun mini, hers are 100 yards minis, and so if you've got a little bit of yarn, you can make this pattern. The contrast heel and cuff and stripe is Cascade Superwash sock, and it's a fun stitch pattern that lets you play around with these really beautiful hand-dyed yarns to let them shine in this variegated stripe. And this one's really fun. It was really fun to knit because it's easy to remember repeat, and it just plays with the color perfectly. So those are my socks that I've designed, and they're available on Ravelry. And they're so much fun to knit. I love Shorty socks. I carry Shorty socks everywhere. I live in Georgia. It's hot. You really can't knit a lot in the summer. So I've just been making socks. I actually finished this one for my daughter. It's out of a knit crate sock yarn, and she has a size 9 foot, So it's a pretty good sized sock, and I still only used about 50 grams, a little over maybe 55 grams to knit this one pair of socks. So when you do your Shorty socks, you do have a lot left over, or you can use some scraps, and that makes it really fun to be able to use up some of those fun minis that you have, getting swaps and things like that. The next one I'm working on, this yarn is from Ryberry Yarn. It is her Aphrodite's Sea Garden. Sorry, it's going out. This is her 85-15 Superwash Merino 15% nylon, 437 yards per 100 grams. I'll put the information for her shop down below as well. This is the second pair I've knit out of her yarn, and it's really, really fun. And this one, I really like the way the striping. This is for a friend of mine, and her favorite colors are purple and green, and that little bit of mauve is what I like. So it puts a little bit of my favorite color, pink, in there. And I'm using one of my bags that I made out of Pioneer Woman. Cute little, basically a placemat, really easy. Great way to make a cute bag. And then my other project bag, I have project bags all over the place. This one was a gift from in a swap I got a few years ago. This one I made. You can never have too many project bags, I say. So I have this one, and then I got this one. I'm gonna put my next pattern that I'm working on. I'm gonna use this bag as my project bag for that. It's pretty fun, because the next pattern I'm working on will be using the next sock pattern for the Summer of Socks collection. We'll be using White Birch Fiber Arts yarn by Lisa Bass. I'll put her information in the down description bar below. But I picked up some of her minis at Stitches United, and I'm going to use a few. I haven't decided which exactly. I've already balled them up. Which ones I'm going to use yet, but they are self-striping yarn. So I'm going to show you how to use your self-striping leftovers in a fun way to make them look totally unique and different than just your self-striping. So whatever, you know, you have a little bit left over of your self-striping, you can come up with a really pretty pattern for these. And I just dropped that bag, so I'm going to stick these behind me. And then the sixth and final sock pattern that will be released in the Summer of Socks collection will be using Bumblebee Acres Fiber Farm in their, this is their Lolly Brooch Squishy Sock Mini Skein set. I actually have another one somewhere and it fell to the bottom of the basket. But it's 75-25 merino nylon. These are 10 gram minis and 44 yards each. In Scottish Thistle, I think that's this one. Through the Stones, that's the one I'm missing, is the Through the Stones. It's a gray. Highland Heather, Over Sea to Sky, and Lolly Brooch. They were really fun to meet at Stitches United back at the first of the month. And I've just got them in a little drawstring row 1 yarn bag that I was gifted. So that's pretty much fun. I've been spinning with the Spin and Make Long from Knitting Expat and Babble's Traveling Yarns podcasts. And so the whole point is to spin intentionally and spin something for a project. So I've been working on these, and they're going to end up, I've got some more dyed up, and I'm hoping to make the, I got a little choked up there. I'm planning on using these to make the Comfort Fade cardigan. And so I've got a few more of my braids back there dyed up, ready to spin to add to these. I probably only need maybe 1.5 more of this to do the Comfort Fade, but I wanted to do it. I pretty much have nicknamed these the Melted Popsicles color. I actually spun this one up. I'll add some pictures in on how I did this one. This one, I dyed them all up, kettle dyed them using citric acid to, and it was dyed up with all different bright colors. And when I pop the pictures in, you'll see I actually broke each piece down so that it would spin up in a pattern and give me more, almost like a fractal, but maybe not a fractal. But I really wanted the barber poling. To me, that's the whole point of hand spun yarn, is I want to see that. That's what I like about it. You can't get a store-bought, a dyed yarn, a hand dyed yarn to look like this. So it's fun. And this one here is another one. This one is another one dyed the same way. It just ended up being more green, which is fine with me. I ended up with more green in it. But I actually did fairly consistent, which I was really happy with. And then this one is more pale. I'm not as consistent in it, so I don't know. I hope they'll knit up fine together. I've got to knit up some swatches of them to see how they knit up. But this one was more pale, and that was a given. I was trying to go up a little bit in different colors so that it would be all the different colors. And I also have this one. I'm thinking of adding this one as the collar of the cardigan because it's just so pretty. And I like the blue. I think the blue would look better up here, other than maybe, maybe not. So that's what these are for. And so I've been having so much fun doing the small with Knitting Expat and Babble's Traveling Yarns podcast. They've been really fun. The next intentional spin that I did was this. It's Malabrigo Nube in the Diana colorway, this is my favorite colorway of any Malabrigo. I pretty much buy it in every kind of yarn. Just haven't bought it in sock yarn yet. But this is so fun. I'm hoping to make a hitchhiker scarf out of this. It's right at fingering weight. There's maybe a couple little places that are sport weight. And so I was really, really excited about this one. As I said, I love that the whole point of hand spun is that it does barber pole like this. It's just really fun. And here is some of the braids that I've been dyeing up to go along with those melted popsicles. I always grew up eating the little freezer pops that come in the little tubes that you freeze, and so that's what these remind me of, the colors of those popsicles. And then I actually have a bunch of different ones that this one, it's a different fiber, so I don't know how if it'll spin up in combination with these or not, but I really, really love the colors on this one. This one's my favorite, and I'm like, I can't wait to see how it spins up. I was gifted a bunch of fiber. I have a friend who she has a whole basement full of fiber, and so she gifted me some fiber, and I've been having fun. The only thing is we didn't know what it is, so I've just been basically trying to figure out what each of these are. But this one I just love the colors, but it's got a really interesting halo to it. It's not that it's not really like next to skin soft, but it's soft. This is like really next to skin. You could just wear it right here, but this one has a little scratchiness, but I like it. I have spun up some of this just to see it, and it does spin up pretty well. I have one more braid of that fiber as well, and this one, I was having fun with it. I used vinegar on this one, and the blue did not take as well. It ended up being almost like a pale teal instead of giving me the pale blue, and I got that shocking pink, so I can't wait to see how this spins up. It's going to be fun. And then I did, out of the softer fiber, I did this one, so I'm thinking of mixing the two fibers, basically spinning one ply of this and one ply of this, and plying them together just to get that both textures of the yarn in there, and being able to blend them up a little bit better. I really do like this one. Then the other night I decided I'm gonna try citric acid instead of vinegar, and look at this color. I absolutely love it. It is so much fun. It's so bright and very, very saturated. Basically what I did was I folded it in half, folded it in half again, and then folded it in half again. So I had, I don't know, 6 different bottom ends and 6 top ends, so that it would, but I broke Wilton's purple with this. And so that's how it ended up, because I folded it so many times. That's how I ended up with blue and purple basically throughout. It goes from purple to blue to purple to blue again. So this one's really going to be fun in purple. But yeah, I have tons of fiber that I have dyed. It's because I was gifted the fiber, it has been so much fun to just play around with it and not feel like I was messing something up. Because I said, if I mess it up, I can just over dye it in black. But this one here, this one's really pretty. This one has blues. I actually did get some really good blue in this one, some purple, greens, and I wanted it to give me a little brown. So it goes through yellows and greens and blues and purples, and that's pretty much what I used. And I did want some of this, and I was hoping I'd have got more of this color, but I didn't get as much of it as I wanted. As I said, I'm just practicing. I doubt I'll ever, sell any yarn or fiber, but if I do, I've practiced a lot. Sorry about that, dropped it. This was very shocking pink and almost a pale blue. So it didn't give me anything but shocking pink. So I over dyed it, just flash dipped it, not long at all, with a little bit of black. So it would give me almost a gray. Looks a little bit different in person, but it's almost, instead of that hot pink, it does have some of the hot pink in there, but a lot of it is, it's got gray. So you can see the gray in there. And it's so pretty. I can't wait to spin this one up. It's really soft. And then I was really trying to get a pretty teal, and the citric acid made this do absolutely wonderful. I really don't know where that came from. I'd cleaned my pot in between. I have that one little swack of purple. So I'll always take it out when I spin it, but I was like, this is so pretty. I'm so excited about this one. And I have way more spinning, way more fiber I could share. But I'll share some of my dyeing of my yarn. This one is a DK sport weight wool. Had a friend who gifted me a whole bunch of natural colored wool, and so I've been dyeing it up. This one I wound it into a hand wound ball, and I used it, and I dyed the black first, dry, dumped it in the dye pot, got the black dyed first, let it cool, rewound it, and dyed it in the teal. And so half of it is black with the little speckles throughout, and then it goes to teal. I'm so excited about this. I said I want to do some more of this kind of dyeing. It makes a really fun yarn, and I can't wait to see how it knits up. Thinking this is perfect size for a hat. I tied way too many strings on it, but I sort of learned the hard way. I hadn't tied any on one skein and ended up with a big old mess. So I didn't want to risk that, so that's what I did with that one. And then these are another sweater dye. There is pinks and peaches. So there's pink, there's a couple of pink ones, a lighter pink one, and some peachy orange. And I'm going to use this for a sweater. At least that's my plan. I still have 3 more skeins of it to dye up. They're 50 gram DK weight. Just some British wool that, as I said, a friend had given me, and it really didn't have much of any information on it. Did not have any yardage. I just know it's 50 grams of DK weight yarn, and so I basically dip dyed it. Each skein, I took it and started, you can see it dark, and then it'll lighten all the way up, and I just kept dip dyeing it until it went to the lightest color I could get out of it and let it sit. It was really fun playing around with this. And this one was a vinegar one as well, so I have to finish the last 3 skeins with vinegar, so that hopefully I'll get the same amount of color saturation. I did make some notes on how to make these, and I'm really excited how these are turning out. These have turned out, but I have thought about taking and basically glazing them in black. So taking them dry, dipping them down in black really quick, and pulling them out, and just seeing how that does. But who knows? It's fun. I'm just playing, and whatever I get, I'll have some really pretty yarn to knit up. And then that's pretty much it. Working with, here's some more green. Here's a pale green. As I said, I was working on these greens with vinegar. This one I put a whole lot of vinegar. I didn't put enough in this one. So I ended up with this teal gray color. Probably gonna over dye this one. This one is a citric acid dye bath, and I did it intentionally to be light because I wanted this peachy pink. It's basically the same colors that I used in my dip dyed yarn. I did it in this, but I actually sprinkled some dye, the peachy orange color dye, on it after I kettle dyed it pink, just to give it some in some places. And it's been really fun. I've enjoyed playing around with the dye pot and making something that's useful and fun for me to knit up or spin up, because I don't want to spin up just undyed fiber. I want to have some fun with it. I pulled out my drum carder. I had some sari silk and wool blend, and so I added it on my drum carder, made some roll lags, and I added some other colored fiber in the mix that I had picked up at Stitches, so that I could make a bunch of these. This is my second batch of roll lags that I did, and I've already spun up the first one, and the first one spun up like this. I was just, playing around with it. I figure both of them together I can make a really cool hat, pretty scarf, just something fun, or even fingerless mitts. I'm really, really, really loving fingerless mitts. In Georgia, we really don't need anything too heavy, and my hands get cold, but but I need my fingers, so that's what this one's probably going to end up being. But I am intentionally spinning for fingerless mitts. These were intentionally spun. This I've got at my local yarn shop's spin dye day back at the 1st of May. She is in Macon, Georgia. I mean, it's not really local to me. I have to drive almost an hour, but it's the closest yarn shop that I have. And pretty much everywhere I have to drive because I live in the middle of nowhere. Now these are 2 little 1-ounce braids that I picked up at Stitches United from Twin Mommy Creations. I have the label around here. Here it is. It's called Got Fiber, and it's Twin Mommy Creations. Let's see if I can get this without blowing out. I'm sitting in front of the window. But it's Twin Mommy Creations. I'll put a link to her website down below. But I did 2 1-ounce skeins of hers, and these 3 skeins are going to be fingerless mitts. I'm going to play up the 2. I'm thinking these 2 will be enough to make 1 pair, and I'll spin up something to go with this one. But what do you think? I really like this one. This one is called, this one's A Night at the Derby. I'll have to look this one up and I'll put it in the description box below. And this one, as I said, was at a spin dye. A local lady had some hand dyed fiber, and this was the one I bought. It was actually the blue of this, and I had some of the blue left over, and so I just applied it on itself. But this one, the purple and reds are what I dyed, and the blue is what came out of that. This was my first one back on my wheel. I hadn't spun on my wheel in probably 5-6 years, and so this one was the first one that I spun on. It was really fun. So there you go. Figured while I'm doing this, I might as well share acquisitions, and I will say this one, Ryberry Yarn. This is her Monet's Water Lilies. It's on her 8515 base and 85 superwash merino, 15% nylon, 437 yards, 100 grams fingering weight. I actually did some sample knitting for her, and got this beautiful skein of yarn. It is gorgeous. I can't wait to knit it up. I did order something other than pink because I've been buying a lot of pink lately, so this one had to do something different. And then these are my acquisitions from Stitches. I got some Tough Love Sock from Sweet Georgia in the Boheme colorway. Let's see if there we go. And it is 80-20, 80% 20 superwash nylon, 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 425 yards for 115 grams. So it's a little bit heavier, but it's really pretty, and yes, it is pink and brown. Don't know what I'm going to do with this one, but I really, really, really love it. Then I picked up the show colorway from Destination Yarns. Sorry, blowing out. Destination Yarns on her 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, 430 yards for 110 grams, 4 ounces. This is her Fox Theater colorway. It is based on the inside of the Fox Theater. It is absolutely gorgeous. Look at those speckles. And the reds and the blues and the cream, the bright blues and the purple, because the Fox Theater looks like the night sky. So it is really, really, really pretty, and I'm so excited about this one. I've been wanting some Destination yarn, and so it was fun to get to try that one out. My next acquisition is from Vocabulary Yarn. They are now Vicious Yarn. They've changed their name after Stitches. This is on their temperance base. It is 75 superwash merino, 25% nylon, 100 grams, 463 yards in the Ego colorway. I think that's what it is. Ego colorway? Yes, that's what it is. Look at this. Look at those colors. As you can see, I'm drawn to pinks and purples, and it almost matches this. I mean, it's very similar, which I was like, okay, maybe I could use them both, but this has got too much green, so I think I'm going to use them separate. And then she had these cute little minis, which I've already balled up to use on a sock, as a giveaway in her bag when we got from Stitches United. And then also this bag. She gave us a bag with everything. So I'm super excited about that. This one's going to be fun to play around with. It's got purples and greens and some orange and golds and yellows. And there is some pink. So I can't wait to see what this one. I'm going to play around with this one. But yes, I don't know how often I'll podcast. I have the house to myself tonight, so I figured I might as well. But I hope to see you back. I'm going to put some links to where you can find me on Ravelry, and I'm Katie Cannon Designs in my shop on Ravelry. But as I said, I'm a Southern Ladies R, and on Instagram, a Southern Ladies Ramblings. I hope y'all have a great day.